Hare Krishna, Hari Bol, everybody. Welcome to Radha Kalchanji Dham Bhagavatam class this morning. We'll start with some Radha Madhav prayers and then we'll go into the class. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Dhari Jaya Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Brajajana Jaya Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Tira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jai Haribo. Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupakada Mayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapadakkamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagar Jatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deena Bandhu Jagatpate Gop Esha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatirubhishcha Kripa Sindhu Evacha Patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Adi Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namane. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshitarne. Jai Shri Prabhupada Ki. So today's we are on the 9th canto, chapter 13. I think yesterday we discussed the dynasty of Janak Maharaj, in the beginning of it at least. Specifically, Canto 9, for those who are listening online and who don't have a book. Canto 9, Chapter 13, verses 12 to 27. That's what we'll be covering. So the context of this verses, we've gone through a lot of Lord Ram's pastimes, and now Vedavyas is dictating, or Sukadeva Goswami is dictating the different dynasties. We went through Lord Ram's dynasty, and now we're on Sita Devi. Janak Maharaj is Sita's father, and so their dynasty, where did it start? Who was the founder? And where we are today? Okay. Before we start, we'll offer some prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Everybody together. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Cheva Narotamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudhirayet Nashta Prayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sedva Bhagavati Uttama Shlokir Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtuki. Jai Shri Bhagavatam Ki Jai. So I'm going to follow in the footsteps of Rupanuga Prabhu, and we're not, because this is another one of those where it's dynasty, generation after generation after generation. So if there is the spare mic, I will request somebody to go to the summary, and just so we can get a good understanding. Yeah, just read the whole summary of of what is going on in terms of the generation and who is coming. So the interesting about this is, when I first started reading this, I was under the assumption that there's only one Janak Maharaj. But it turns out that Janak was more like a title in Mithila, where Sita Devi's dynasty is located. And so the original Janak was actually procured. He has an interesting story, and I think Adishri Mataji went over it yesterday. But it came from King Nimi, who is the founder of the Mithila dynasty. And so that is where we're going to start. And then we'll see how the original, the first Janak came, and from him, eventually, at some point, Sita Devi's father, King Janak, comes. His name is Siradhvaja. Didn't know that before, so you learned something.
This chapter describes the dynasty in which the great and learned scholar Janak was born. This is the dynasty of Maharaj Nimi, who is said to have been the son of Ikshvaku. When Maharaj Nimi began performing great sacrifices, he appointed Vasishtha to be chief priest, but Vasishtha refused, for he had already agreed to be priest in performing a yajna for Lord Indra. Vasishtha therefore requested Maharaj Nimi to wait until Lord Indra's sacrifice was finished. But Maharaj Nimi did not wait. He thought life is very short, so there's no need to wait. He therefore appointed another priest to perform the yajna. Vasishtha became very angry at King Nimi and cursed him, saying, "May your body fall down." Cursed in this way, Maharaj Nimi also became very angry and retaliated by saying, "May your body also fall down." As a result of the cursing and counter-cursing, both of them died. After this incident, Vashishta took birth again and begotten by Mitra and Varuna, who were agitated by Urvashi.
The priests who were engaged in the sacrifice for King Nimi preserved Nimi's body in fragrant
Chemicals.
When the sacrifice was over, the priests prayed for Nimi's life to all the demigods who had come to the arena of Yagna, but Maharaj Nimi refused to take birth again in a material body because he considered the material body obnoxious. The great sage then churned Nimi's body. As a result of this churning, Janaka was born.
Does anybody know where this something like this, where somebody's been churned to be created? Does anybody know in another instance where that happened? Yes, King Vena, Prithu Maharaj and his wife Archie were born from the churning of King Vena.
The son of Janak was Udavasu, and the son of Udavasu was Nandivardhana. The son of Nandivardhana was Suketu, and his descendants continued as follows: Devarata, Brihadrata, Mahavirya, Sudharti, Drishtaketu, Haryashva, Maru, Pratipaka, Kritaratha, Devamidha, Vishruta, Mahadriti, Kritirata, Maharoma, Swarna Aroma, Rasvaroma, and Siradhvaja. All these sons appeared in the dynasty one after another. From Siradhvaja, Mother Sita Devi was born. Siradhvaja's son was Kushadhvaja, and the son of Kushadhvaja was Dharmadhvaja. The son of Dharmadhvaja was Kritadhvaja and Mitadhvaja, and the son of Kritadhvaja was Keshidhvaja, and the son of Mitadhvaja was Kandikya, and Keshidhvaja was a self-realized soul, and his son was Bhanuman, whose descendants were as follows.
Shatadyumna, Shuchi, Sanadvaja, Urjaketu, Aja, Purujit, Arishtanemi, Shrutayu, Suparvashwaka, Chitrarata, Kshemadi, Samarata, Satyarata, Upaguru, Upagupta, Vaswananta, Yuyudha, Subhashana, Shruta, Jaya, Vijaya, Ruta, Shunaka, Vitahavya, Dhrithi, Bahulashva, Kriti, and Mahavashi. All of these sons were great self-controlled personality. This completes the list of the entire dynasty.
Yeah. Huge dynasty. So the focus verse for today is the 27th verse. So Canto 9, Chapter 13, verse 27. Ete vai Maithala Rajan Atma Vidya Visharadaha Yogeshwar Prasadena Dvandvair Mukta Griheshvapi Ete vai Maithila Rajan Atma Vidya Visharadaha Yogeshwar Prasadena Dvandvair Mukta Griheshvapi Ete vai Maithila Rajan Atma Vidya Visharadaha Yogeshwar prasadena Dvandvairmukta griheshvapi. Do you want to say it? Ete vai maithala rajan Atma vidya visharada Yogeshwar prasadena Dvandvairmukta griheshvapi. Ete vai maithala rajan Atma vidya visharada Yogeshwar prasadena Dvandvairmukta griheshvapi. Anybody else? Ete vai maithala rajan Atma vidya visharada Yogeshwar prasadena Dvandvairmukta griheshvapi. Okay, we'll do the word to word together. Ete, all of them. Vai, indeed. Maithila, descendants of Mithila. Rajan, O king. Atma Vidya Visharada, expert in spiritual knowledge. Yogeshwar Prasadena, by the grace of Yogeshwar, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Dvandvai Muktaha, they were all freed from the duality of the material world. Griheshu Api, even those staying at home. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Sukadeva Goswami said, My dear King Parikshit, all the kings of the dynasty of Mithila were completely in knowledge of their spiritual identity. Therefore, even though staying at home, they were liberated from the duality of material existence. So I'll say it and then we'll repeat. Sukadeva Goswami said, My dear King Parikshit, all the kings of the dynasty of Mithila were completely in knowledge of their spiritual identity. Therefore, even though staying at home, they were liberated from the duality of material existence. Jai. Anybody want to read? Does anybody know what duality means? We heard this term a lot in our scriptures, and Prabhupada will mention in Bhagavad Gita. If you really know it, then don't say it. But if somebody who's guessing or wants to take a guess, it's in the name, I think. Duality, what does it mean? Okay, somebody who does know it, please say it.
Meaning that there's two opposites, basically. There's one thing, and then there's the opposite of that thing.
It's two extremes. So I searched it up just in the dictionary to see what it would tell me. And it said the quality or state of having two ends or two sides. So duality. When Krishna is talking about duality, or when Prabhupada is talking about duality, you can understand that dual, meaning two, that there's something that we're addressing and there's two sides of it. So when you'll hear like happiness, sadness, there's the happy side and there's the sad side. There's two extremes. Okay. Somebody read the purport.
The material world is called Dvaita, or duality. The Chaitanya Charitamrita, Antya 4.176 says, Dvate Bhadra Yana Saba Manu Dharma A Bala A Manda A Saba Brahma. The world in the world of duality, that is to say in the material world, so-called goodness and badness are both the same. Therefore, in this world, to distinguish between good and bad, happiness and distress, is meaningless because they are both mental concoctions, monodharma. Because everything here is miserable and troublesome To create an artificial situation and pretend it to be full of happiness is simply an illusion. The liberated person, being above the influence of the three modes of material nature, is unaffected by such dualities in all circumstances. He remains Krishna consciousness by tolerating so-called happiness and distress. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 2:14. Matra sparyastu kunteya sitoshna sukha dukada agmapayino nityas tamstikshasva bharata. O son of Kunti, the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress and their disappearance in the due course are like the appearance and disappearance of winter and summer seasons. They arise from sense perception, O son of Bharat, and one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. Those who are liberated, being on the transcendental platform of rendering service to the Lord, do not care about so-called happiness and distress. They know that these are like changing seasons which are perceivable by contact with the material body. Happiness and distress come and go. Therefore, a pandita, a learned man, is not concerned with them. As it is said, Gatasun agatasums cha nanu sochata nanti panditaha. The body is dead from the very beginning because it is a lump of matter. It has no feelings of happiness and distress. Because the soul within the body is in the bodily concept of life, he suffers happiness and distress. But these come and go. It is understood herewith that the kings born in the dynasty of Mithila were all liberated persons, unaffected by the so-called happiness and distress of this world. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 9th canto, 13th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The Dynasties of Maharaj Nimi.
Jai. Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai. So I'll read the translation again. Then some part particularly stuck to me was all the kings of the dynasty of Mithila were completely in knowledge of their spiritual identity. Therefore, even those staying at home, they were liberated from the duality of material existence. When I was thinking about reading, I had asked Prabhu what would be the topic. Well, how does it work? And so there's a topic that's in there. It said transcending duality, and he said you can do that, or you could choose what you want to do. And I'm like, for my first class, I'm just going to take what's assigned, keep it easy for myself. So something around duality, transcending it. When we read purports like this, I think it's interesting because the default assumption sometimes is that, world is happy, sad, and the goal of spirituality, the goal of bhakti is to become indifferent. Like, okay, we're not going to be happy, we're not going to be sad, we're just going to stay even keel at all times. But I wanted to focus on a particular word in the translation of Matra Sparshas Tukanteya, where Prabhupada is specifically saying tolerate them without being disturbed. So it's not that as a jiva, as a spiritual entity, it is possible to be emotionless, to have no emotions, to have no feelings. We don't have to go very far to see examples of this. I mean, our dear Arjuna, the great warrior, he heard the Bhagavad Gita directly from Krishna, and he's heard he's answered all his questions, and Krishna has satisfied all his answers, and he has destroyed that feeling of sadness and lethargy and dismay that he was feeling at the beginning of the conversation, and so now he is ready to fight. But if we go and we actually follow through the Mahabharata afterwards, what happened? It's not that now Arjuna is some rock-hearted, stone-hearted person that sad things happen and he's just like, oh, we're not this body, Prabhu. It doesn't matter if people are dying or my family members are dying. And does anybody know any instances where Arjuna felt heartbreak during the war? When his son died, when Abhimanyu, his dear son, Subhadra and Arjuna's son, and he was engulfed in utter grief, and we see that he proceeds to make the vow that the body of Abhimanyu will not be burnt, will not cremate him until I have killed the culprit Jayadratha, right? Any other instances where his heart broke? Yeah, Gadotoch is killed. He's is his nephew, you can say. Also, when at the end of the war, right, when Ashwatthama comes and, kills all the remaining Pandavas, basically, besides the Pandavas themselves, but the rest of the warriors, his 5 sons from Draupadi, Drishtadyumna, and everybody else, basically. And so we see that Arjuna, although he has heard Bhagavad Gita, he has gotten the essence, he's understood, and Krishna has, otherwise Krishna wouldn't end the conversation if he didn't feel Arjuna had, picked up what he was dropping, right? So Arjuna has now understood the essence of what Krishna is trying to say, the message, and now he's going on to fight. But if you look at the progression of Arjuna, it's not he has become some person that doesn't feel or experience sadness or happiness. It's more like the goal is to not become disturbed. He does not lose hope and give up and go back to his original position, which was, what is the point of fighting? I have to fight all my family members. Better to just give up and stop and, go into the forest and chant some rounds. So we can see that when we see the duality of this material world, happiness, distress, Krishna is really harping on the point of it's the nature of this world is that it is up and down. It is happiness, it is distress, it is cold, it is warm. But it's not that you don't experience these things. Rather, when you're experiencing them, you do not let it deter you from moving forward. So, and especially on this point that I was thinking of was that when we read our spiritual texts, Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, sometimes, at least for me, it becomes a thing where, like, if I understood, if I hear properly, then, I'll become happy. And therefore, from this happiness, it will, life will be good. It'll be all roses, and I don't have to face challenges, and there won't be any sadness. And, I'm partaking in bhakti. What do you mean? Prabhupada said chant and be happy. So I should be happy all the time, right? That is how it works. But actually, if we dive deep in our scriptures, what Krishna is really doing for us is he's elevating the reality of the world. The famous verse of Mam Upetya Punarjanma Dukkhalayam Ashashvatam. He's very clearly saying the nature of this world is that it is full of miseries. That is something you cannot change. That this world, the Mata Sparshas, there's sukha and then there will be dukkha. There will be sadness, there will be happiness. We will go through challenges. We'll have a job and then we'll lose our job. We'll have a nice house and we might lose that house. We might have a lot of loved ones around us. We may lose those loved ones. So there will be many, many crossroads, many times when we will have phases of happiness. But the challenge is that all of this is agama anityas. Nityas meaning temporary. That the stages, the phases of happiness will come, but you can understand that at some point this will go. So the great tragedy of the bane of our existence is that our source of happiness has been delegated to external things. So the analogy I used to give in my trade in my field of study is that, and then I'm going to apply this for more spiritual, for our sake, that the world, it's like what we're trying to build in our spiritual life is that it's like we have a boat, and then there's the ocean. And as a pirate, as a ship, as a captain, your goal is to successfully reach some destination, and the nature is that there is an ocean in your path. And that is kind of the existence. The captain cannot say, "Oh Lord, please stop the ocean from going up and down. Please stop the ocean from having all these waves and hurricanes and all these challenges. Let me pass by quickly." It's more like the shipman has to beforehand, he has to build, and while he's there, he has to strengthen the boat. The ship itself must be strong for it to cross safely the waves, the up and down of the ocean. So similarly, for us as spiritual, as sadhakas, as spiritual aspirants, it's not that we can change the world. That it's the nature. Krishna is very. At no point does he say in the Gita that, oh, if you do this, then the world will not suck. For lack of a better word, that it will not be a point where there is not sadness and happiness in this oscillating, this roller coaster of going up and down, up and down, up and down. Rather, you have to become somebody A wise person is not disturbed. Somebody that is not disturbed by these challenges. So the main, again, to the point is that the world's nature, Krishna is very directly in the second chapter itself, he's bringing to our attention that you must understand the nature of the world. To become truly happy, you cannot change the world. Something has to be done within the walls of this body, this human body. Something has to change inside for us to sustain happiness, because if you have delegated the happiness to third party, something else, the material world, well, unfortunately for all of us, it is anitya. It is temporary. Sometimes you'll have wealth, sometimes you won't. Parashar Muni has described the 6 opulences, right? Of when you define who is Bhagavan, who is Krishna. Krishna is somebody who has the 6 opulences in full, right? Does anybody know the 6 opulences? Wealth, go slowly, wealth. Beauty, wealth, beauty. Good food. Maybe, but you'll get that from wealth, right? You can buy some good food. Wealth, beauty, knowledge, having full knowledge. Renunciation, ooh, that's an interesting one. Strength. Fame. I think there's one more. Renunciation, all 6? Okay. So all these things that if somebody was to define Bhagavan, Krishna, is somebody who has these 6 things in full. But I think the interesting one is that renunciation, right? That's the one that gets you a bit like, renunciation? We can understand wealth, beauty, fame, all the knowledge. You can understand those. But renunciation, well, the beauty of Krishna is that he has everything, but he's not attached to it. And it's not even a good comparison, because for him is eternal. He has all these things eternally. He's not like externally he has like these things and they're going up and down, and then Krishna's oscillating. No, his nature is Atmaram. He's self-satisfied. He doesn't need anything for his happiness. But for the challenge for us is because we're envious of Krishna, we're trying to become Krishna, or there's naturally some tendency, I want to be the enjoyer. I want to enjoy the fruits of this world. Is that these opulences that we see, we're trying to grab them for ourselves. And only difference is where we're looking. The challenge is, where are we looking for these things? And that's why Krishna is very adamantly describing to us first, like, you are the jiva. You're not this material body, because that is the root cause of all of our suffering, is this alignment, temporary thinking of, I am the body, therefore if I please the body, then I will be happy. Because everybody's goal is to be happy. The soul's nature is to desire. It wants joy. Anandamayo bihasat. That is just the dharma. It's to be happy somehow. But how is where everybody's going in a different direction. And that's why Krishna very directly is attacking the root cause of our suffering. Because Krishna wants Arjuna to be happy. Krishna wants us to be happy. What kind of father, what parent, what God wouldn't want his kids to be happy? Right? That is just, you can just logically understand that, what to speak of, having to read Shastra and understand what Krishna's nature is and what he thinks. But any father, any parent wants their child to be happy. I remember hearing this conversation between 2 devotees. I think it was Garuda Prabhu was describing how when Krishna is speaking the Bhagavad Gita, he's very like coming as like a teacher, but his heart really breaks when he sees Arjuna really, in distress, when he's sad and he's realizing that, I have to fight and kill my loved ones, and therefore I will gain whatever it is that is to be gained, the kingdom, honor, prestige. And so Krishna's heart is breaking to see that his dear friend Arjuna is feeling this. And so that's where the Bhagavad Gita really begins, of Krishna's instruction, not for just Arjuna, for all of us, is, I want you to be happy, and it might not sound what you want to hear, but the reality is something, and I must make you privy to that reality. And that is that you're not this body, you're the soul. The soul's nature is to love and serve Krishna. That is the only way you can be happy. And if you can achieve this, then you can not be dependent on your external reality, and you'll be happy eternally. What is the point of happiness in one life when we know that old age, birth, death, disease, these things will eventually take everything? Sometimes you ask, I'm sure everybody here has spoken at some point, when you ask people, do you think you're suffering? And many people are like, no, I'm okay. Life is good. I have a job, money's coming in, I have a house, some mortgage, I'm paying it. But otherwise, life is good. And then but then that's why Prabhupada says, but even that is temporary, right? This feeling of sustained neutrality, even that is going to go away at some point, and death waits for nobody. Death will come at its time. And so the question I raise is, so if our goal is not to be happy on external circumstances, then how do we become happy? How do we become, seems like happiness is going to go up and down. That's the nature. We're going to have money, we're not going to have money. Beauty will come, beauty will fade, we'll all get old and wrinkly. And so these things will come and go. So then, where is the source of happiness? Where will we find happiness? I mean, Krishna's promising us happiness. That's what he's telling us. Prabhupada promises you will chant and be happy. So where will we get this happiness from? In him and his service. Anybody else?
Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 266 that one who is connected with me has a steady mind, has intelligence, and therefore they can have peace. And how can there be happiness without peace?
Without peace.
So it must be there must be some key there in peace being the key to happiness. And then the key to peace being connected to Krishna.
Yeah. Well, everything is wonderful. I wanted to highlight something that Prabhupada is saying very strongly, actually. He's saying that in this world, to distinguish between good and bad, happiness and distress, is meaningless because they're both mental concoctions, manodharma. Because everything is miserable and troublesome, to create an artificial situation and pretend it to be full of happiness is simply illusion. So this manodharma, it seems Prabhupada is harping on the point of that it's our perception. It is our perception. It is the way we view the world is actually the real cause of our suffering. It's not the external situation itself. It is not that somebody hit me or said something is the cause of my distress. It's how I viewed the action, that scenario is what really causes me suffering. So, and we can understand that internally, what is the challenge is the things that are plaguing us. It's our lust, anger, greed, pride, envy, lethargy. All these things internally are the cause of our suffering. This is very challenging for us to, it's easy to hear and say, but the real challenge is when you're in the world, coming to the conclusion that at this point, something will happen, in this material world, something will happen, and the only way it will cause me to suffer or engage with pain, it's how I process it. What is my view, my perspective? And because this will happen. Krishna is undeniably saying that there will be happiness, there will be sadness. So obviously that's not going to change. This is the nature of the world. So something internally we have discovered that it has to be some kind of internal change, internal work, changing, that we have to do inside that will. So back to our analogy of the ocean, right? The ocean is going to be up and down, but the boat needs to be strong. So the internal work needs to be strong. And everybody nicely spoke that connecting with Krishna, that is our internal source of happiness. So through this process of Shravanam, Kirtanam, of associating Vaishnavas with hearing the scriptures, Bhagavatam, we're cleansing our heart of these impurities, which like, it's like the heart is covered with so many layers of conditionings, and they're like, if anybody has tried on glasses with a colored lens, the conditionings, they are like lenses on our vision. And then so when we view the world, we see it in a way that the conditioning is forcing us to think, oh, this person said this, he must be disrespectful. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Or somebody did this, oh, they don't know. But we don't know. In reality, we're not omniscient. Only Krishna knows in the heart of that person and in my heart what is going on. But because we have this conditioning, we assume we know, and we view the world based on that conditioning. Oh, this person is so and this, and we're angry, we get upset, and we want something, and we get upset, we don't get it, and we follow that process, that line. And so the work must be done internally. So the conclusion, if we're following the organization of this, is that A, the material world is full of suffering, B, if we want to get happiness, the work has to be internal. Now the question is, what exactly should we be doing? And so, and the other part is that because we're aligning with the material world, we're thinking, my self-worth is based on the material world. If I had money, in this material world, money means you're a successful person, you're a good person. If you have a lot of beauty, you're considered a very nice person, a good person. So our sense of self-worth, who we are, is tied to external factors. And therefore, that causes us a lot of grief. Because, again, it's temporary. It's like, you know who you were, but then it gets taken from you. So now you're, again, midlife crisis, right? Midlife crisis, they call it. You have something, I had a lot of money, and then I lost everything. Now I'm nobody. That is the challenge, right? So without having a peace, steady mind, without connecting with Krishna, with our eternal purpose, something that doesn't change, sanatan, something that doesn't change, is the only way by which we can attain happiness, right? That is the goal. So I wanted to show this interesting verse that I found. It's right before actually Nashtaprayashu Badreshu. Shrinitam Swakataha. I'll just skip the Sanskrit and we'll do this as translation. But the translation says, Shri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma, super soul in everyone's heart, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee, who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. I'll say that again. Shri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is Paramatma, the super soul in everyone's heart, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee, who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. So this is Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, chapter 2, verse 17. So is that what we addressed earlier was the desire to have material enjoyment. It's to find happiness, but in the wrong places, in the material world, which is temporary. So Rupanuga Prabhu said something really interesting the other day, and he really said it in passing, but he was describing how we as living entities, when we're chanting, when we're doing our japa, we are praying for a service. We're praying for freedom from the material world, the pains and the pangs of this material existence. We're asking for freedom from it when Krishna, please engage us in his service. And the really base interesting thing is that Krishna never intervenes with our free will. That is his rule number one, because it wouldn't be love if he intervened. So he has given everybody and everyone free will. You do what you want. It would be nice. You would be happy if you loved me. That would be most ideal case. But I will not force you. You have to, at the end, you have to fly your own plane. You have to make your own decisions. And so Krishna's rule, the principle is established, is that he does not intervene. And so when we're asking, Rupanuga Prabhu was saying, when we're asking for Krishna, like, Krishna, please, free me, I'm suffering, this material world sucks, and please allow me to be engaged in your service and cleanse this heart. But also he was saying that, but deep, deep, deep down, we may be saying this while we're chanting in the moment when the chanting is inspiring us, but really deep down, we're still hankering for that material enjoyment. We're still looking to be the enjoyer. And so Krishna's in a dilemma there, because you're asking him something. You're asking him, oh, please free me, please free me, please free me. But deep, deep down, your real desire is, I want to enjoy. But I'm asking because Prabhupada has said I should ask, or this should be my prayer. And so deep down, the desire is one thing. So it's like a man that is, holding onto a tree, and he's asking, the passerby, hey, rip me from this tree, take me away, take me away. But the passerby is saying, you're the one holding onto the tree. You're the one holding onto the tree. And Krishna's rule, remember, he doesn't intervene with your free will. So we may be asking something while we're inspired, but deep down our challenge is that we still have those desires. And that's where this verse really comes in importance, is that when we're chanting, when we're reading, what is really happening is that heart is being cleansed. Is being cleansed of that deep desire. Because, many of us, we don't know what's going on in our subconscious, in our samskaras that have come up for many, many years. We don't know what conditionings we have in its totality. So when we're reading, we're chanting, at least for myself, we're expecting that, I've chanted one day good, I've read a couple days really well, I should feel some kind of spiritual elation and I should be advancing what is going on. But the conditioning is so deep rooted that if you took a scan of your body right now, you wouldn't feel it. But it's a deep rooted samskara that has been developed over many, many, many infinite lifetimes from time immemorial. And so when we're taking part in Shravanam, in the association of Vaishnavas, when we're reading and chanting, what is really happening, although we might not see immediate results, is that the process is cleansing that deep-rooted material enjoyment, that desire for material enjoyment. Because otherwise, Krishna cannot directly remove you. He's not going to do that because your internal desire is, I want to enjoy in this material world, separate from you. And so he's not going to intervene in that. So the only way you can do that is by your own desire, from your own willing action, saying, Krishna, I'm really free. And that's what Maya's job is at the end of the day, is she's testing us. Are you really wanting to be free? And then she throws us a ball and then we fall. And then we come up again and we fall. But Krishna doesn't want us to give up. That's the goal, right? He doesn't want us to give up. So really, the goal is, so if I could summarize really quickly, that Sukadeva Goswami is describing the dynasty of the kings, and he's saying all these kings in their life, in their kingdom, they're staying there, but they're liberated. They're beyond this, beyond the dualities of this world, which is our goal, because happiness doesn't come from the dualities, because it'll always be a roller coaster forever and forever and forever. And so these kings have accomplished this, and Prabhupada is very strongly saying that one who is on this roller coaster and aligns with the body and wants to enjoy the material world and this happiness and this distress, and that your perception of that is really the cause of your suffering. It's not the thing itself. It's not the happiness, the loss of something, the having of something. It's actually the mental conditioning inside that is processing all these challenges and everything we're going through. So, okay, but then what do we do about that? So it must be something internally that we have to work on, that anchors us, that strengthens us, that cleanses the root cause. The root cause is material enjoyment. And how do we deal with material enjoyment? It's only by the process of Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Bhadasevanam. That is the process of bhakti. And that is our goal. In the end, it's, again, the nature of the soul is to be happy. I think there's sometimes we condemn that we all want to be happy, although it is the foundational truth that everybody wants. The only thing is, where are you looking for, and what is your intention? The beautiful thing about bhakti is that if somehow we can cleanse the desire for happiness but just serve, Krishna will give it to you. It's very ironic. It's, if you seek it, you won't get it. Prahlad Maharaj brings up this dichotomy in his teachings, where one who is seeking happiness won't get it. But if one just seeks to serve and please Krishna, they will get it. But that requires a lot of cleansing, a lot of conditioning to be removed from the heart of wanting things, lust, gross or subtle, anger if we don't get it. That requires a lot of conditioning. But the goal is not to just remove these things, because that would just bring you to a state of probably neutrality where you don't have desires. But bhakti means not removing something, but redirecting it. Bhakti means, okay, you have the desire to want something, you have the desire for money, okay, engage it in Krishna's service. Okay, we'll stop here for today. Hope anybody has questions, comments, concerns, arguments.
Hare Krishna, Charanaravinda Prabhu. Congratulations on your first Srimad Bhagavatam class. All glories to your Guru Maharaj, His Holiness Sritatvajra Swami Maharaj. What a beautiful class for a first class. It was first class. And I really appreciate how you summarized, brought it to its beautiful conclusion. And then there were certain points that you called out that I thought I could take away, where you said we tend to delegate our happiness. So that perception of, we think that we are running after happiness when we're running after happiness based on our senses, but what we're actually doing is delegating our happiness to someone and some things that really can't do it. So just looking at it that way was a very nice point. I wrote something down later on because. Oh yeah, and then you said that Krishna is renounced because and also like we can't compare because all his opulences are eternal. So that's also another way to again, what we are running after for happiness is so temporary. If we connect with what is eternal, it would be easier for us to also, renounce that what is temporary. So, the way you said it, I was able to make those connections. So thank you.
Thanks so much.
I also want to say what an amazing class. I really appreciate when I get a class and I start like making connections and like it makes me think more and stuff like that. I really appreciate that. And I wanted to especially thank you because not only you're giving class, you're coming and listening to class and connecting 2 classes ago when you heard about Rupa Nuga Prabhu. I think that that's really an essence of what we're trying to build in our community, is that we can continue to think about these different things and build on each other and help each other to dive deeper into Srimad Bhagavatam. So I thought that connection was really awesome. Thank you. One thing I wanted to explore was over several things, but I'll stick with one. is that okay? I was thinking about how in the introduction of Bhagavad Gita, Srila Prabhupada says that conditioning means to be dependent on external things that you have no control over for your happiness. And when I heard that, when I heard you talking about it, I was thinking that's, conditioning. Okay, however, we talked about is that Arjuna was feeling these sadnesses and these distresses, right? And so my question is, how can one remain happy yet still be sad? Because I don't see that somebody who's spiritually advanced, like we said, still has feelings of sadness and anger or disappointment or grief or jubilation. But we're always as devotees remaining happy. So how does one how do we understand that, to be both at the same time sad and still always remain happy?
I think happiness is probably not the root term of what we're seeking to be all the time, because at the end of the day, we are not the feelings. These are things that we're experiencing. But even, we discussed a lot about distress, a lot like, Arjuna lost his family and members and son and 5 sons, and then Drishdyumna and other members, he had to kill his. We went through the kind of the different things that that were challenging, but also there's the other side of the coin of, even in happiness, you experience it, but you don't become too happy, right? Even too much happy. It doesn't say only dukkha, don't become disturbed. It says sukha and dukkha, don't become disturbed. So I guess the definition of happiness is where the difference becomes. Because our source of happiness, like you said, Prabhupada is saying, it's we have put it on to things that are outside of our control, that are temporary, that are conditionings that are outside. And so when we say happiness can't coexist with, but you see Arjuna, he's going through sadness and he's experiencing things. It's, when you say equipoised, is probably more apt in terms of what we want, the state of being that we want to be in. It's kind of the initial point of like, the roller coaster will be there. That'll be the undeniable reality of this material world. So there will be ups, there will be downs. But the disturbing point is the key point. It's like, you will experience sadness. Arjuna went through distress. And the gopis went through distress. We see it. The devotees, the Vrajavasis, they were, demons were attacking every day. They went through their distresses. So the promise is not particularly that you won't experience sadness, but it's more like, what does real happiness mean? The question is, that's what we're all looking for, right? What is happiness? But the happiness achieved from material things doesn't last and doesn't really nourish the heart. And it's like a temporary, okay, felt good or felt not painful. I think Bhagavad Gita even says that the happiness we experience in the material world is not even like real. It's like not happiness. It's just suffering is temporarily paused. And then you go back down. And then you pause again. And then you go down. So it's an up and down. But I guess, I don't know if I'm answering the question at all. But the this idea that we're experiencing sadness, but as a devotee, you want to be happy all the time. But I think the challenge is we're perceiving what they're experiencing based on the material framework. To be happy means something happened and then they experienced it and it was all awesome. And then something happened and then they were, something sad happened and they become sad. So that sadness. But I think again, please feel free to answer if anybody has a...
I was thinking that the happiness must be in the unconditioned state, right? So the conditioned state and the unconditioned state happiness is internal, right?
Mm.
And it's dependent on Krishna
Mm-hmm.
in a sense. And so I was thinking that really it's Satchit Ananda, bliss.
Yeah.
So the happiness is considered bliss. And I've noticed in myself that I've had these times and experiences where I've had two different feelings at once that are on the completely opposites. Like I've been so scared at the same time and be like, wow, this is awesome. This is like so cool. This is like, but it's so fearful at the same time. So I'm curious if, the soul is so multidimensional that we can have bliss or happiness and also be experiencing sadness at the same time. And they're feeding into each other to elevate both feelings when connected with Krishna.
Yeah.
That was kind of my thought.
No, 100%. I mean, you can see this in, if you were to take the pastimes of, I think there's a segment in Bhagavatam where somebody asks Krishna, what is the internal reason behind like the suffering of the gopis? You see them, they're like so much pain. They're going through this absence of Krishna's presence in Vrindavan. Although we know he doesn't leave, but at least in the Leela, we see that the gopis are just suffering. The Vrajavasis are just, the lakes are made up of the tears of the of the Vrajavasis. So, and the external you can look and there's just sadness. This is just depressing. It's distress and pain and sadness and to the onlooker. But I think the imperceptible part is that in bhakti, it's more the strengthening of that bhakti. His answer was basically, I wanted to increase the viraha, right? I want to increase the love for the gopis, and in that they're tasting sweetness. So when rasa comes in, it becomes a different ball game, because externally it may appear one way. The gopis are suffering. Why would Krishna do this? He's so mean. He said they would come back, and he doesn't come back. And then you can make this assumption, but the end, it is a leela, it is a pastime, and they're enjoying that increasing of love between the gopis and Krishna and Radharani and Krishna, that separation. Because I've thought about this before, and this might be speculating, but in Goloka Vrindavan, Radha and Krishna are always together. Like, they're in Goloka Vrindavan, they're kind of in the same, I'm sure they have many pastimes, so they'll do their pastimes, but probably in the material world is the only space where they can taste like the separation, that love and separation. Anyway, so the point being is the perception might seem that there's sadness, and then there's a heightened sense of sadness, it seems, but the internal part is where we're challenging.
I'm going to pass it on to Drista because he had a question. But I was thinking, I think a big key of this is renunciation that we were talking about. But anyways.
No, Machi had a question. Or a comment. I don't know.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, congratulations on your first class. I resonate with Tulsi Sakti Mataji. Your first class was really first class. You took an abstract topic such as duality and you put it so coherent, and I can see that all your sadhana from your young age, how deep your class was philosophically. You connected with so many things, and you explained this abstract topic of duality in such simple terms to understand and connect. So thank you very much. I really appreciate your association and you coming here and giving class. It's not only inspiring for me, also for my kids, who can look up to Vaishnavas like you and see how you can relish Krishna consciousness. And my sincere prayer to Kalachandji is, may you continue to inspire many more souls. My question, Prabhu, is I think in the first canto you mentioned one shloka where Krishna is within the heart and he is trying to cleanse our material desires. We are praying for him to get out of this world, but we are still holding on. My question is, does this, that, because when we are doing inattentive chanting, it's not attentive, but it's still inattentive. I mean, the desire also is not pure. Like, my understanding of the shloka is when our desire to go to Krishna is pure, but we still have material desire. But I feel like when I'm doing inattentive chanting, my desire is also maybe not pure. So I'm just curious, even at that stage, is Krishna trying to help me to cleanse off my material desire?
I've been noticing when in the past few days, when in my readings or my listenings, I've been hearing offenseless chanting a lot. When we hear the promises of Shastra, if you chanted even once the holy name of the Lord, you have been cleansed from sins that you can't even start to commit, and different claims or statements that we hear in the Shastra. And offenseless chanting has been the theme of even in the Japa book of Brijan Prabhu, there is a section where he's talking about the consequences of long-term offensive chanting, of doing Namaprabhu again and again. And it goes as far as to say you'll lose your faith, you'll start to hanker for things besides spiritual things. So if I'm understanding the question, it's that if even if I was doing inattentive chanting, is Krishna still cleansing those desires internally to desire to enjoy the material world? I don't know. Very frank, I don't have the answer. But if Gokulananda Prabhu or anybody wanted to chime in on that, but the name, I believe it brings transformation. Even inattentively, there are some effects, but the challenge is it's what we're doing is when we're chanting, we have it a very oftentimes an impersonal perception that I'm chanting. Even the word chanting, it's like I'm just saying I'm chanting this words again and again. But I remember having a conversation with a Christian fellow one time, and we were talking about some meditation or something, and then they were describing as prayer. And I was like, oh wow, what a good word, prayer. So when we're chanting, it becomes mechanical because we're treating it as some kind of, I have to say these 16 words again and again and again, and Krishna will do his work. But that's a very impersonal way, or like a mechanical way of thinking of what the process of chanting is. It's if we make Krishna the person, and Prabhupada will make this statement a lot of Krishna is a person, and when you're chanting, you're spending time with somebody. And if even in the material scope, if you were to wanting to build a relationship with somebody, if we are not paying attention, or if we are neglecting, or we are just conversating but we're not hearing, it's very hard to build that relationship, even when in this material world. If you wanted to fall in love with somebody, the last thing you want to do is, so how are you doing? And then you just pull out your phone, right? And then this person will feel heartbroken. So similarly, I think the process of cleansing the heart, it's almost we're treating it as some kind of mechanical thing. If I did this, step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, Krishna will come and he'll remove this, that. But that becomes a very like a factory almost. If I summon the Lord for 2 hours and chant these 60 mantras, Krishna will come and sweep up the heart a little bit. But from my understanding, the level of which the cleansing will happen is directly proportional to the level of attention and affection we put into our sadhana and our chanting or hearing. Because Krishna is at the end, where bhakti means building a loving relationship with Krishna. And as somebody who has perhaps wronged Krishna for many, or neglected, wronged, ignored Krishna for many years, even in this material world, if you have committed something, the last thing you want to do is inattentively follow the process to rebuild that relationship. So, not that I have an answer to the question, but just a perspective shift of like, sometimes when we're doing it, it's not a formula where if we chant, and then Krishna will come and remove the obstacles. It's more like when we chant with affection, with love, we're calling out for Krishna's help, making it a prayer rather than mechanical chanting. Then Krishna will deeply remove those because he sees you're sincere and you're really, really asking, seriously, genuinely asking. So Krishna will come and remove. I don't know if that was helpful a lot, but
Just a little comment that I heard once put that you're playing a game, and in the game it asks you chant Hare Krishna, and then you can move this many spots. And so you're really chanting Hare Krishna to play the game. So often we use chanting as a as sense gratification, religion in the name of sense gratification. You know, we're doing it because it helps us in our material world, actually.
yeah.
But we're not, as it said, we can ask Krishna for, even if we want material things, we still ask for Krishna. So we can ask the mantra for material things, and Krishna will play that game with us. But eventually it does purify to the point where we go, okay, I really just want to chant Hare Krishna for Krishna's pleasure. And that's tough.
Yeah. I mean, the description of bhakti or
I got a question right here.
real bhakti is, it is
What's that?
apratihata, and it is unmotivated, and it is uninterrupted. That is what pure bhakti looks like. But to your point, it's to getting to that point is.
Srila Rupa Nuga Prabhu asks, if Krishna is self-satisfied, does he really find some pleasure in our worship of him?
I've asked this question before, so I don't know if I have the true answer, but I've wondered this before. But from in the text, what it seems to say is that although Krishna is fully self-satisfied, he doesn't need anybody else's anything from anybody to enjoy. That's why he loves rasa, because if you look at what Krishna is saying in terms of CC or Chaitanya Charitamrita, describing, I don't feel pleasure from awe and reverence. It doesn't make me happy because he has all the fame in the world. He has all the other opulences. The only thing he doesn't have is our love, and that comes from free will, like voluntarily, because everything we have is nothing. We don't have anything. The only thing we have is our free will to give something to Krishna at the end of the day. So Krishna relishes he's rasa bhav. What is it? Rasa vesaha. He's bhakta vatsal. He enjoys that. It has been, Krishna himself has said that I enjoy the love. Patram pushpam phalam toyam. I don't need. These are external things. The water is an external thing. The food, the leaf, all these things are external. What I really just relish is the love that is embedded, or that we put towards the action or towards the effort. So yes, Krishna, although being self-satisfied, he enjoys, just like a millionaire. If he has everything, he still enjoys other things. It's not that he doesn't, he has $1 million, therefore he doesn't, enjoy the love of his family. So it's a similar thing. Somebody was saying something? Vishnu? Prabhu? This will be the last question, and we'll wrap up.
Hare Krishna, thank you very much for sharing and teaching today. It's very inspiring. I would love to have conversations with you at some point. This is what I took away, and I could be wrong about some stuff, but this is what I took away. Engulfed in grief, Arjuna's son died, and he's engulfed in grief. The goal is not to not feel feelings. The goal is to not be disturbed. Grief by its nature is disturbing to feel, so ... Understanding it is temporary, not letting it change the direction of your boat. Disturbance in this sense is disturbance of direction, allowing the mind and heart to feel what it needs to feel as deeply as it needs to feel it, and maintaining the helm. The mind may be disturbed and the heart may be heavy, but we are not our minds. Therefore, it can be disturbed, and we can continue to take care of it. The heart may be heavy, and as an eternal spirit soul, we can continue to hold it. We are bigger than our hearts and minds, so we can tend to them and hold them like we would a sobbing child, and hold that space for them while not losing grasp of our ability to execute our responsibility to take care of them and ourselves, and not losing grasp of our knowing that Krishna is the only one who can tend to our soul in ways that bring us to true joy. In this way, we do not reach out in desperation to those near us to save us, and we can avoid being entangled in never-ending disappointment and sorrow, and we can continue on our path to being entangled in a relationship with Krishna. That's what I got out of it. Please correct me if I'm wrong about something.
No, thank you. Thank you for sharing. As you were saying, as you were saying what you wrote, I was thinking the challenge is that, to your point of that there's distress. And what we kind of came to the conclusion of was that we need something processing it, right? Because everybody in this material world, whether they have, from the external, it seems they're very happy. Everybody's going through challenges on a daily basis. And what the missing puzzle, it seems, is that processing mechanism. And really that's what Krishna is giving us in the Bhagavad Gita, to your point of, is that Krishna is, by bringing us closer to reality, by anchoring ourselves to Krishna, because in a void, there's no way you can not be happy. If you're in the association of sad things, or something sad happens or good happens, you will gravitate towards that sad experience or that happy experience. Now the missing puzzle is, but what is your perspective? How do you process that experience? And that's why it's very important for us to anchor ourselves to Krishna. Because Krishna is above the modes of material nature. Our pangs, our suffering is caused by our perception, and that is caused by the modes of material nature, which is the root cause of our conditioning. And so, at the end, what is our internal anchor that is going to lift us out of the suffering? Because it is very naive to say that, oh, don't be happy if things are going well, or don't be sad if things are going bad. You have to have some philosophy, some internal framework to help you process the world, because at the end of the day, we're living entities. We're human beings. We're people. So we experience things, and things will go happy, things will go sad. And the only way we don't get disturbed or too off-put by it, it's by having some source of internal joy, some source of internal respite when things don't go your way or do go your ways spectacularly. So thank you for sharing, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Okay. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki.